What's going on, guys? What is going on? We got some we got an interview to go over. We got the restructuring of the first party studios, you know, who people answer to. It's a lot of stuff to go over today. You know, I have for a while, and you guys know I'm being truthful on this. I have always said, you know, Microsoft is setting themselves up to have a slew of content coming out very, very frequently, and that competitors like PlayStation and even Nintendo to a degree, it's going to be really hard to compete with the amount of content that they're going to be able to deliver in such a short amount of time. You know, throughout years, we've had maybe one or two big key components, big key games that would come out a year, and sometimes it'd just be one. Sometimes you just get like that Gears of War 5, but you know, for the past few years, Microsoft has been strategically putting themselves in a place where not only can they deliver more content, they're low-key trying to overwhelm you with content. And this interview with Matt Booty, you know, he doesn't really do a lot of interviews, but he interviewed on the fourth curtain. You know, we're going to get to the interview itself here in a second, but it's very interesting because he once again doubled down on this. And there's been a lot of times in, you know, the past few years where they have doubled down on this sentiment. They're going to be delivering lots of content every year. So let's pop over here. Let's do this first part because I think it's very important for this. I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic so you guys don't hear it, but we'll talk about what he says after this. See you here in a second.
But, you know, I think for our first time that we got that group together, those are the two things that we oriented to.
Yeah. Well, I find that super encouraging to hear, because as you know, organizations get bigger, it is easy for many voices and to try to figure out like which ones matter. And so very, very encouraging to hear the perspective of leaning into protecting the craft, protecting the creative and all that. So does that mean,
I like
this
what he
is
said there.
something I'm just legit curious about,
You know, something he said earlier, and, you know, I'll go ahead and motion back. He said that someone that he worked with in the music industry really vocalized the fact that their biggest job is to protect their craft and their creators, you know, to protect the people that not only, you know, not to only protect the IPs that you own and the stuff that you make money with, but to also protect the people that make these IPs, because without the people that make them, what are they? They're just code. They're just numbers. You know, you actually have to maintain and keep the people happy that's making these games, because we've seen throughout time, especially when they don't own a studio, where games like Rise Center Rome, Recore, you know, there's a lot of these type of games where they didn't own the studio, so it was kind of pointless for them to do anything at that point. So let's keep going.
Are you trying to do sort of a strategy, a slate strategy across the entire portfolio, or is it mostly managing like release timing and things like that, or is there any, like you have?
With all those nines,
like
right? There's like a lot of nines in that portfolio, and I imagine releasing them at the same time.
Like, how do you even find a window? You're gonna have more than 12 big releases. Like, how are you gonna manage the windows?
Yeah, so
pretty much he's sitting there, is like, yo, you guys got all these studios. How are you gonna manage release schedules? I've said for a while on here on ILP, I've said they're gonna get to the point where stuff is gonna be full blown done, and they're gonna have to delay because they don't want to eat their own sales. And you know, he's asking that question now. So let's move on.
I kind of would think about that on the tactics for sure. The portfolio management, the release timing, those things are going to become more important. You know, we've got a goal of a big game, you know, a new release, a big game, something significant going out 4 times a year. Right. So every 3 months we've got something new coming out. And, you know, I think with Starfield and then going into Forza Motorsport, and then as we head into next year, 2024, you know, we showed the game Ara and the game's Towerborn at Gamescom. We've got Hellblade 2 that comes later. So like, it feels like we're getting there.
So pretty much what he's saying there is like, look, this year we've done a really good job. And I would agree, even something like Redfall. You know, you guys know just as well as I, it was very underwhelming to me. And, you know, congrats for Arcane for actually working on that game. It does look like they are improving some of the issues I have with that game. But he's saying, look, we're working into this. We want to give you guys content. We got to give you guys plenty of stuff to play every year. You know, he brought up a few games, which is interesting is, you know, we're in November, and he brought up the Argaea game and the Towerborn game. So I would say, you know, those are going to be early next year. So maybe Hellblade comes out, you know, June, July, or August next year. Maybe Hellblade is next year's big game in the holiday. Put in the comment section below what you guys think Hellblade is going to come out. Very curious to hear that. And it's just like, look, at the end of the day, when it comes to this, you know, this is extremely important for a variety of reasons. And the reason that it's important is because we need more structure in Xbox. And I think they're doing a very good job on it. And, you know, not only is this going on, Matt Booty's going out there and he's saying, you know, we're going to give you more content. We also have some restructuring going on in general. As you can see here, former Forza boss Alan Hartman has been appointed head of Xbox Game Studio. Let's go ahead and blow this up a little bit so you guys can read it better. Hartman, who joined the Forza team back in 2005, had spent the 2 years working on a cooperative vice president of Forza and Fable. Thrilled to be representing an elite and game creators in my role, leading Xbox Game Studios. He is taking the role previously held by Matt Booty, so he's going to be doing a lot of the, you know, handling the actual studios of them, and Matt Booty's going to be above them. See, I told you guys, you know, people were in my comment section, you got it wrong. I did technically get it wrong, but the thing is I knew for a fact if they're asking him to take over ZeniMax, he's not going to be doing all of that because that's a lot of stuff, you know. And then we got, you know, Clover over here. He's giving us a little bit more in-depth conversation on that Matt Booty interview that I was showing. So we'll go ahead and briefly read this. I will put this link right here in the description below because it is a good listen. I think you guys should go watch it. Recently spent time with the Coalition Gears of War team, and it's offered to see the progress of these studios. Recognition Gears of War as a franchise has horror elements to it. Now, you can make a debate on whether or not the previous Gears of War have horror elements to it. So I think he's pointing out here that he's going to be bringing more, you know, they're bringing more horror elements to the franchise. And I think that's good. I think the majority of people would really like that. Doom is rooted in mechanics and gameplay, purest sort of expression, and that kind of a shooter. So it's interesting that he's referring to Doom instead of id Software. You know, it was leaked that they are working on a prequel for Doom. So I think this pretty much confirms that. You know, one of the main goals of all the studios to create a diverse games lineup, from small games like Pentiment to AAA games such as Starfield and everything in between, not just focusing on some selective genres. Once again, if you really want to grow something like Game Pass or grow a platform in general, you kind of need that. It's one of the reasons PlayStation has been so dominant the past decade or two, because they had, up until recently, had huge diverse library from first party to second party to third party. Creative Xbox Studios shouldn't just be a possibility, it should be inevitably. We have schedules and budgets of all these things, but ultimately it's just to pursue the craft of our studios and make sure that the other stuff doesn't get in the way. So pretty much he's saying, look, we want to make sure the studios are working on the games that they want to work on within reason. You know, they never come out openly and say it, but there's still a greenlit process going on here. They're not going to just let anyone work on anything. You know, obviously stuff like Pentiment, that's Game Pass games where it's going to give Game Pass value, and it really lets a team, you know, stretch their creative muscles, where, you know, that game probably didn't cost a whole lot to make, so it was okay. You know, I think this is the best in as long as it's being managed and monitored. And what I mean by that is stuff like Redfall. You know, there are certain games that either need to get extended longer or just canceled entirely. Not every game is created equal, and I think that sometimes Microsoft falls in between the cracks on whether or not a game should see the light of day or the game, you know, should get canceled during this development. And I'm hoping that they are a little bit more strict in terms of what's actually being greenlit. Now, I'm not talking about not letting them work on what they want to. But I do think there should be some balance and forth. Like, you know, this is what I want to work on. And, you know, Matt Booty, the individual that's taking over, you know, Alan, they should come together and realize, you know, from a market standpoint, will that sell? You know, show me the concept. Because I do think in terms of development, it's got to be off of a multiple people aspect. You got to have multiple ideas flowing around. And I'm all for games being greenlit, but at the same time, some games just ain't going to captivate people. And I think Microsoft needs to be a little bit better on that. But they haven't been getting good, you know, besides Redfall, the majority of Xbox games have been 80 plus on Metacritic. The majority, if not all, for the most part. Obviously, you got some games that fall below the 80s, but I think that's a good thing now. I think you need the high quality, like the 90 plus Metacritic. You need a couple of those. But for the most part, I think the direction Microsoft is going. Put in the comment section below what you guys feel about that. You know, this is pretty much the direction that the first party studios is going. Matt Booty has been elevated to over ZeniMax and Xbox first party studios. You got Alan below him working with the Xbox studios, and you got whoever those are there, ZeniMax below him working on ZeniMax, and then he responds to either Sarah Bond or Phil Spencer. I don't know if her and Sarah are on like a ladder situation or Sarah's his boss or like vice versa. Put in the comment section below if you guys know that too. But anyway, that's for the video, you guys. Very curious to hear you guys put in the comment section below. I actually feel like this is a very good time to be a gamer, especially an Xbox gamer. I know I say that a lot, but man, you know, the amount of information and the amount of games that we know is coming to the Xbox platform is very, very inviting. But anyway, appreciate every guys coming through here. This is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace. Xbox about to kill it, man.